Welcome, welcome, welcome. No surprise here. It's week 12. Weird weekend. But you get to watch the Cowboys and the Raiders. It should be an offense fest left and right. We're going to help you hopefully get ahead of the waiver wire ahead of tonight's game because there is somebody on here that I really want to talk about, but we'll get to that later. Mike, how's it going?
Yeah, weird is a good way to describe this last week. It felt like the games were good and intriguing and interesting, and then like fantasy didn't translate. The quarterbacks were terrible this week. I mean, I think there was only like two or three over like 17 points or something crazy. Michael Wilson went off, who you're gonna hear later. So it was a strange week. Good games, but like it just feel like for fantasy, it was like kind of a disappointment. I don't know. It wasn't great for fantasy, but here we are into week 12. We only got a few weeks left, and then we're into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, like, if you were here on Sunday, I told you guys to go and get Michael Wilson because the opportunity was supposed to be there. Um, and it was kind of writing on the wall already that we kind of saw with Harrison being out. The opportunity was going to be there. And so,
We did we didn't expect Jacoby Brissett to complete almost 50 passes, but which is a big part of obviously Michael Wilson, but still like, target share, he's a good player, but crazy that Brissett threw the ball almost 60 times and completed almost 50 passes. Like never thought I would say that in the history of any show, and here we are in 2025 talking about that.
yeah. And I mean, as Chargers fans, it was a rough weekend for us because our team decided
Yeah.
not to play this week. And then they get a week off.
Yep.
So it worked out really nice for them.
Yeah. 2 weeks off. What a ride.
God, that game was frustrating.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Well, if you're looking for a quarterback, because you have Chargers, Broncos, Dolphins, or Commanders, guess what? We're at that point. All of them are on bye, so as we kind of alluded to, you won't have any players from those teams. So we'll start with quarterback. Shouldn't be any surprise. I'm going with the guy we've already started the show with, Jacoby Brissett, 19.6. Since he has taken over that job, he is currently the QB8 in that time period. His worst game is 19.4 fantasy points. So he's very consistent. It's been super impressive to see just how kind of insane it's been, but you kind of have to roll with it at this point, and I just don't see it getting any worse. Like, if 19.4 so far is his worst, I'm not really scared of what a bad game is going to be for him. So that's who I'm
Yeah.
leaning with. Who do you like?
Um, it's not a great week really for streaming quarterbacks, if I'm being honest. But I'll still put Sam Darnold's name out there. He's under the 50% threshold, and obviously hasn't been great the last 2 weeks. Um, but we know what he's capable of. The Arizona game was just weird. Like he didn't throw; he threw the ball 12 times. They were winning like 30-0 before halftime. It was just a weird game. And then went up against the Rams. Rams are just a tough team. They're a tough team. They're a good defense. Maybe the best team in the NFL. Argument now he gets to play the Titans. Titans kind of middle of the pack against quarterbacks. Um, and I like to take advantage of that. It could be a little bit of a bounce back, get right game for them. And for Sam Darnold, I think he kind of needs that. It feels like how last season ended. He played so well last season, and like the last 2 weeks of the season, he kind of just looked like the Sam Darnold of old. I think they're kind of, you got to be careful with that a little bit and get him back on track, right? And this feels like a game to do that. So still don't mind Sam Darnold. He's going to be rostered in a lot of leagues, but if he's out there, I don't mind it. I mean, Joe Flacco is also there, but without Jamar Chase, who we know is suspended, I don't love it. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't know. How are you feeling about Flacco and without Chase? Is it still okay? He's going up against the Patriots though, so it's
Yeah,
like,
that's my issue.
uh,
Is more the defense. This is going to be. I mean, he's
yeah,
still going to have to throw, but I'm tempering it. I mean, I'm guessing that his floor is probably going to be around 12 to 13, which you don't love. Um,
uh-huh.
with the upside probably being 22. because I do expect him to probably turn it over once or twice, and that's always difficult. But yeah, I mean, those are really the two that I even thought of. Good thing for Darnold, this is a get right week for him for sure.
Yeah.
And he looked just fine, except for he turned the ball over 4 times and didn't throw a touchdown. And unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And so again, I still think he's a good quarterback. It just isn't showing up for fantasy right now. I mean, you continue to
Yeah.
see it in different ways, but
Yeah. And there's kind of we have you mentioned the 4 teams in a bye this week. All of them kind of relevant quarterbacks. I mean, Herbert definitely. Nix is going to be rostered by a lot of people. Tua is probably around that 30-40%. And then, the Commanders are on a bye. But, if someone drops Herbert, although I think they play the Eagles that week, so maybe that's not great. You want to avoid that. But if someone drops like a Bo Nix or something like that, maybe go out and like stash them and look ahead towards week 14, which we have another 4 teams on a bye. So just some things to kind of pay attention to if anyone drops one of these quarterbacks that are on a bye.
yeah, for sure. But all right, we'll wrap up quarterback and move into running backs. And before we do, have some stuff from the chat. Jason, I need Bowers to do good, and I should win. I'm not too surprised. That should be a pretty easy one for you. Is it worth dropping Tracy for Kenneth Walker?
I don't think so, to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah, those are the two. Yeah. Is there no one else he can drop? Those are 2 solid players. I mean, I just trust Tracy's role a little bit. Like Kenneth Walker is playing a little bit more, but Charbonnet is always going to be a bit of the thorn in the side. I know, Singletary got some goal line stuff and got the touchdown, I believe, but
Yeah,
you know,
he's the one who
still
I want if you're looking at the Giants
yeah,
backfield because he gets those high quality or high value.
yeah,
Sorry, not high quality, but he's the one that I'm definitely looking at just because goal line. Like that,
yeah,
that's a big boost. If you're anywhere near
yeah,
there, he's the one coming in. So
yep, yep. And Tracy's been he's been playing well. I mean, he's averaged like basically 5 yards a carry the last couple of weeks, and he's a pretty good receiver too. So
and then crazy to think Mills over Flacco for this week. I mean, I don't even remember who the Texans are playing. I feel like it's a short week. They're playing Thursday, aren't they?
they are playing Thursday. So Stroud probably not going to come back, but he could. They're playing the Bills, who have kind of given up points.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm probably okay with that.
Mills over who? Flacco?
Yeah, against Patriots.
Yeah, with Chase out. Yeah, yeah, I'm fine with that. You do got to be careful. You might not know if Mills is going to play. I mean, obviously you'll know before it's a Thursday game, but you don't want to just have only Mills on your roster and then you find out Stroud's playing and then you're kind of scrambling for a quarterback. So, yeah, kind of crazy to say that, but I think it is. I mean, it's just crazy to think we're talking about Davis Mills and Joe Flacco this year, but yeah, I don't mind that either.
Yeah, and Vinny, a lot of people. I mean, I don't think I know anybody who ranked Brissett over Flacco this past week. Like that.
No.
That was just not something that we saw coming, and it was a surprise. That's how it is some weeks.
It's I see that a lot with people like I should have started this player. And it's like yeah, of course in hindsight, but it's like football is unpredictable. Fantasy football is very unpredictable. I mean, Michael Wilson just had what was it, 18 targets? Like there's not many receivers in the entire NFL this year that are going to get that many targets. Like don't beat yourself up with that type of stuff. It's that's why you got to kind of like this is the right move. Is it going to work out? We don't know, but this is the right move to make. And more often than not, you're going to be good. It's just you're going to get these type of performances. So no one predicted Jacoby Brissett to set the history in the history of the NFL that Jacoby Brissett was going to have the most completions in the history of the NFL. Like no one predicted that. If they did, they're lying to you. If they say they did. So
yeah, 47's insane. But
yeah.
All right, and this is going to lead into my running back, but should Vinny use his number 1 waiver pick to pick up Emmanuel Wilson? He has Genty, Etienne, and Dowdle.
Probably, yeah. At this point, Genti, and Dowdle. I mean, it's going to be hard to like. I assume you can, only start 3 running backs. That's what most people play in. 2 running backs in a flex, but probably. I mean, I think I would. Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
would.
it's fine. It's just it's risky. So, but with
Yeah.
that in mind, going into running backs, my first pick is Emmanuel Wilson, 8% rostered. As kind of touched on, Josh Jacobs dealing with injury, unsure of how long he's going to be out, if he's going to be out at all. I'm guessing that will. I'm assuming that this week he is most likely going to be out. But Emmanuel Wilson is the one who we've said more often than not that he is the one who will have that job. So uh,
Yep.
the other one I'm also looking at, widely available, Chris Rodriguez, 15.2%. I just brought up Commanders are on bye, so you will have to hold it. But this is something maybe Sunday morning you come up and you grab him, drop whoever you've been holding for the week that you're not using and pick up Chris Rodriguez, because I really do think that that team is realizing that they need to use him more, and it's been very effective with just how his veteran leadership has translated onto the field. He's the one
Yeah.
who is leading the way. He's running hard. He's finding the holes, and it's not a waste. While Ja'Cory Crossy-Merritt is kind of still playing like a young player in the NFL and struggling, and so I think the team is really going to switch to Chris and keep up with it and allow some more time for Bill to pick up the game a little more still. So
Yeah.
just as how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It is. What do you think of Kenneth Gainwell? Like, I know Warren. I think I read that like he. I mean, he said he could have gone back in the game, potentially. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't think that. I know they were kind of winning that game and stuff, but like, Kenneth Gainwell, we've seen just be like he kind of smashes when Warren's out. So like, I might prioritize if I need to start next week. The problem is we don't know if Jalen. We're probably not going to know if Jalen Warren's going to be out till Friday. But if I do need to start next week, Kenneth Gainwell is going to be pretty high on my list of players to go out and grab. Because again, we saw him, really produce and have one of the better weeks for a running back this year. He plays the Bears as well, which I love.
It's
So
actually been the 2 games that he's kind of had that role. He's looked so good. I mean, if
yeah,
they could just have one running back in Pittsburgh, it'd be awesome.
yeah. Yeah, and again, you get the Bears. Like, there's going to probably be some points scored in that matchup and stuff like that. I'm trying to see exactly. Bears are kind of middle of the pack, but you just feel like there's going to be a lot of points potentially scored in that game. So, he's on the list. Devin Singletary is on my list. We talked about him a little bit when we talked about Tracy, but a little bit more. I think Tracy, it was basically 50-50 snaps there, but Singletary's kind of getting the goal line stuff. He did also get some third down work. They split third down work. They didn't have a 2-minute drill, so no 2-minute drill information there on who they're going to use. But Singletary did get the touchdown, and although Tracy was good, Singletary also played a decent amount. So I think he's definitely rosterable. Sean Tucker, although I feel like Bucky Irving's going to be back this week. It kind of felt like he had a chance this week, and then ultimately didn't play. Sean Tucker was a monster again. We saw this last year where Sean Tucker had a huge game. Is it just going to be that 1 week wonder? And I was kind of telling people like, look, if you're not starting Sean Tucker this week, it's probably better to roster someone else, right?
Yeah, because this is the one opportunity that you had to really start him and not worry about it.
Yeah, but man, Bucky hasn't played since what, week 3 or 4? Like, it could be another Sean Tucker game. Like, they could give him a decent amount of carries as they ease Bucky back in. So maybe you can get one more week out of it. Plus, if Bucky's out, obviously, then you have another week there. But I'll throw his name out there because people are going to ask.
Well, and they do play the Rams, which
Yeah,
it's a little more tough. It's a very different skill level when it comes to defenses there. Bills are
Yeah.
very much a run funnel. They want you to run the ball. And unfortunately, that kind of, you saw how that went.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop anything this past week. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'll throw Baishal Tutin's name out there. He did kind of leave the game. He was never ruled out, but I don't think he came back in to that game. Up until that point, though, I think it was about three quarters. It was pretty close to a 50-50 split. I think it was more like a 55-40 or 50, 60-40, 55-45 type of split. But Tootin was also playing well. He was running the ball well in that game. 15 carries, 74 yards. Didn't have a catch, which we know he can do. He's just an explosive player. I feel like the Jags really want to kind of get all this going here. Like you have ETN and Tootin and hopefully Brian Thomas back with Parker Washington and Brenton Strange, and like this offense could come together a little bit.
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers, yeah. I mean, can Tootin be one of these guys that's like he's like a 12 touch guy, but he's super efficient with it. He gets 2-3 catches, and you can rely on him and stuff. So he kind of reminds me a little bit of like an Aaron Jones potentially, and how Aaron Jones was super efficient, never had like a huge workload in Green Bay and stuff, but was just very good for fantasy regardless. So I'll throw his name out there. There's a lot of good options here for running backs, whether you need a start or you're stashing. There's plenty. On top of all the handcuffs that we mention each and every week, handcuff your guys if you don't really need to start someone this week or something.
Yeah, and just because you brought it up, I'm going to say it again. Kareem Hunt still too available. He's still under 50% rostered, and so that's just a shame. He continues to be the goal line back, the one that is kind of available to score for you every week. And even with Pacheco back, I just don't see that role going away from him. I mean, he's been there all year. It's very much a McKinnon situation from years before, but it is how it's working, and that's kind of what the Chiefs like to do at this point. So, all right.
Mhm.
Well, like we continue to say, make sure you have your handcuffs. So, moving to wide receivers, and shouldn't be surprised, but Alec Pierce, 33.6% rostered, coming off the bye. Leading up to this past week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, he pretty much split work. He was running the most snaps right with Pittman, and just out there for a lot of it. And if that's going to be him, and he sees 6+ targets, boy, is he going to be somebody you want on your team.
Yep.
It's very much a Jameson Williams-esque, except for he's getting volume. And now Williams is looking like he's going to start getting volume. So if that's going to be the case, it's definitely somebody you're going to want on your team. And then because we have to be obligatory and include Michael Wilson, 29.9% rostered, currently wide receiver 1, on just an incredible pace. It's definitely something that you're going to likely want on your team as long as Marvin Harrison's out, and maybe even after that, because they need other options, and it really showed that Michael Wilson continues to have that kind of skill set that allows him to separate and just dominate people. So it's going to be impressive every time I watch him play. I feel like, is somebody who went underdrafted and continues just to surprise me. So
Yeah, he's a good player for sure. He is a good player indeed. I definitely like those picks. Throw out a couple more here. Christian Watson, probably the best Packers pass catcher from this point on. I would guess him or Dobbs. I guess that they're going to be up there. If it's PPR, it's more Dobbs. If it's half or standard or non PPR, it's Watson. But Watson's come back from his injury. He's kind of hit the ground running a little bit. I mean, he's been productive in every single week. He doesn't have a huge game, except this last week he gave you 20 points in PPR, which obviously you'll be excited about there. And so yeah, I just think like there's the opportunity for him there. He's playing around about 80% of the snaps, which is great to see. So he's out there quite a lot. It seems like he's mostly all the way back from his injury here. So I definitely go out and grab Christian Watson, who is available in basically 3/4 of the leagues out there. Luther Burden is another one I'll throw out. Kind of been throwing his name out and saying like, look, rookie player who He's kind of taken over the role from Olamide Zaccheaus, right? A little bit. So it's not enough. I don't think like this is more probably long term, and you're banking on just having every single year just go to Fantasy Pros and filter from weeks 14 to 18 or 14 to 17, whatever you want to do, and you'll see names on there. You're just like, what the heck? Like this guy was wide receiver 7 on the during the fantasy playoffs. It happens every single year. I'm gonna bank on a rookie talented wide receiver who's getting a bigger role on an offense that seems to put up a lot of points with a bad defense. So Luther Burden, I still don't mind stashing. We're seeing his role expand over the last 2 weeks, and hopefully that means a little bit something there. Jaden Higgins is another one of those. I didn't write his name down, but Jaden Higgins is also another one of those. 14 targets the last 2 weeks. Is that a Davis Mills thing, or is it just a rookie thing? He has 7 or more targets in 3 of the last 4 weeks, so we're kind of seeing that rookie progression a little bit as well with him. So he's another one that I wouldn't mind stashing as well.
Well, and I'm also kind of curious if that's not just a rookie progression, but also the team is realizing that, oh, we have 2 very talented guys that can both catch the ball and separate. Maybe we should put them out there at the same time and see how that works. And so, and it has. Clearly, it's been a big boost to that offense. And I don't know if it's directly related to it being Davis Mills or if it is, thankfully, the team. But it's going to be interesting to see how that continues to work out. You brought up rookies, so I'm going to bring up another name, Tez Johnson, still available. Are you interested at all with we talked about Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker. Well, now it's going to be Chris Godwin and Tez Johnson. Are you interested at all in rostering Tez Johnson moving forward?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Like, if I don't feel like I'm going to start him in the next week or two, maybe not. More for deeper leagues because I think he can kind of have a little bit of a blow up game or something. So yeah, again, Godwin, Evans, hopefully I guess he's going to be out most of the fantasy regular season and maybe the whole NFL regular season. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it because I do think, this Buccaneers offense is better than kind of what we've seen recently. Problem is they play the Rams next week, which isn't exciting. But after that, they get, Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins. Like that's a pretty nice finish there. Could see a good run from Buccaneers players in general. So yeah, I don't mind stashing him. I kind of throw him in the same boat with guys like Luther Bird and Jaden Higgins, but maybe a tick higher because he's actually produced a little bit more than those guys. So yeah, I don't mind rostering him.
And I'm also going to bring it up because I'm curious to see, what do you think about Andre Yoshivas for this week with Chase potentially out?
Yeah.
I mean, as a 1-week streamer, I'm kind of liking that as a potential option for people. So
yeah, I was trying to remember. I don't think Chase missed last season, right? But I was trying to look at Yoshivas and was it a game with maybe T. Higgins out or something like that? Yeah, I definitely don't mind Yoshivas, and he could be kind of like Michael Wilson-esque. Obviously, it's not going to be as crazy as Michael Wilson was, but just a guy who's like, oh yeah, the writing was on the wall. This team's going to need to throw the ball a lot, and he's kind of the next guy up. So, yeah, that's a good call there.
And then, of course, the other wide receiver for the Cardinals, Greg Dortch, is another name I want to bring up because he did see a handful of targets. He was 4th in the pecking order, 3rd or 4th in the pecking order. In any case, and then the one tonight that I think people are probably sleeping on, Tyler Lockett. Don't know if you know this. He used to play for the Seahawks. You know who else used to play for the Seahawks? Geno Smith. We saw 1 week of it, and I don't think that they've lost touch. I still think they're friends, and I think that could be another potential. I'm going down with a sinking ship, and they're just going to check it everywhere they can because they know each other and know what each other needs. And at this time in their lives, it's might as well go out with a bang.
Yeah. This is super, super deep, but Cardell Hodge for the Falcons. London's going to miss some time here. Hodge is probably going to be the one that fills that role. I am pretty sure he's going to be the one that fills that role. The London role doesn't mean he's going to do anything, but he is probably going to be out there 80-90% of the snaps playing that Drake London role. So that's more for super super deep leagues. If you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel there, he's definitely available. I think he's available everywhere. So.
All right, and then I'm going to bring up one other name because I haven't heard anything. And I want to see if you have. Brandon Ayuk. Anything?
Haven't really heard anything
Terrifies me.
And again, they should open the practice window. I mean, soon. I imagine if they have playoff aspirations, they're going to want to get him a couple games under his belt. Just again, when it comes to these guys, you're not starting Brandon Ayuk till you see, you see something in one of his games, playing a lot or he has a good game, right? You're not starting him his first game back, so you're always a week away with those guys. So, where are we? At best, we're week 13 for Brandon Ayuk. If he plays this week, which is unlikely, so probably pass. But I mean, if you could stash him on an IR spot, why not?
All right, and then going to close it out with a question from Daniel Eberhardt. Worth rostering Jaden Reed with Dobbs and Watson both having roles. I don't know. It's fine. It's again, I hate this team because Love doesn't care. He's just going to throw to whoever's open, and it's going to switch every week.
Yeah, I know that it seems like the Packers and LaFleur, maybe Love, take pride in that, but I don't. I still think teams, good offenses need legit number one options to kind of dictate what the defense does. And for teams that when they go up against these players, we need a game plan. You need more than just that one player, but you can't just have a bunch of wide receiver 2s and 3s, and I just don't think it works in the long run personally. But I don't mind starting Reed because we're gonna go a little bit back to what it was last year, where when Jaden Reed was going off last year, it was when Dobbs and Watson were healthy. He has his role. It's never going to be a dominant role, but he can have these blow up games that we know he's capable of. So I do think he's an important part of that offense and kind of really important for Jordan Love. So I don't mind rostering him at all. So again, if you can stash these guys, we just don't know when they're going to be back.
Yeah. All right. That'll wrap up wide receiver. We'll move it in tight ends, and it's going to be names you've heard before. Juwan Johnson, still my number one, running 9% of routes. Just stop playing around. Why is he this low, guys? He needs to be 90% rostered every week. He had 3 bad weeks, and one of them he was injured, and they just had him out there because he continued to be injured. And as he healed, he still played 90% of snaps, so it didn't matter. And then you brought it up, Brenton Strange. I thought he was going to play this week. They kept kind of leaning towards it, and then they didn't say anything. But 18.2% rostered, widely available, should be a part of this Jaguars offense, and was a massive piece early. I'm very curious to see, with all the weapons potentially coming back, how much better that team's going to get. And now adding Jacoby Myers, it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. But those are my options. Yeah. Talk about your boys. Let's go.
Yeah, I definitely like your options, especially if you kind of need something next week. I'll keep throwing Colston Loveland out there. I do think Cole Kmet is going to be a thorn in his side a little bit. But he's giving you something. We know what he's capable of, but now we're at the point. It's we've only seen one big game from him, and we can't just keep thinking about that big game and hoping for it when we keep starting Loveland. But again, it's just. I think these are talented players that I'm willing to stash, and the moment the moment they have a big game, if they have a big week 14 game, I'm starting in week 15 in the playoffs, because we see these stretches of plays from these guys, these talented players that just dominate in fantasy playoffs. So I'll throw his name out there. He's playing a good amount. His role has obviously expanded since about week 6 or 7. So Colston Loveland. AJ Barner, speaking of guys with a crazy amount of targets and stuff like that, AJ Barner had a bunch. He had 11 targets, 10 catches. He's another one of these tight ends that we talk about all the time. Kate Ottens, Theo Johnson is someone I didn't check what Theo Johnson's percentage is, but he's another player that I don't mind. These guys are they're playing a lot. They're playing almost over 85% of the snaps. Now, are we expecting 10 catches for AJ Barner? No, but we know that he's now capable of that. And then you look at some of his other games this year. 3 for 71, 7 for 50, 3 for 30, and a touchdown. Like he's capable of giving you these types of numbers because again, he's just out there all the time. So I'll throw him out there, and Seattle also needs they need another option in the passing game. I'm worried about that team. Just like when you get this is more talking about the playoffs, the real NFL playoffs, but it's just like don't be shocked if like Seattle out with the first game because like a team knows how to shut down JSN or something like that. So, but yeah, AJ Barner, Colston Loveland, I'll roll with those two. Theo Johnson, I'll throw his name out there as well.
Yeah, he's just barely over. He's at 56%. So the issue for Loveland will be Kmet, but even this week with Kmet back healthy, they played the same amount of snaps, which is, I think, was still over 70%. So both pretty good options. And then Daniel Everhart bringing up, been stashing Strange on IR. When he's back, would he go with Strange or Loveland? I would wait and see. Because I'm curious to see how Strange ends up looking with the new order of Myers, BTJ, Parker Washington. Like they have weapons now that things are slowly growing and making it a little more tough for Brenton Strange. So
yeah. Man, Trevor Lawrence loves his little like short area over the middle type of targets. Like not BTJ, but he loves,
I mean, he gave him a ton of targets. He just wasn't catching them. I mean, that's on BTJ. Don't blame him.
BTJ. Yeah, it's just weird. Like it's been a couple years now of like Ridley and now BTJ, where it's just like something's off. I know BTJ's like had some drops and stuff like that, but there's always like if you remember Ridley from a couple years ago, it's like he made a catch in the end zone, but like the foot was here or like it just was slightly off. I don't know. There seems to be some kind of disconnect there, but like Trevor Lawrence again over the middle to his tight ends to Christian Kirk's to Parker Washington's of the world, now Jacoby Myers, like he's money there. So I probably would. It depends who if like you're talking about like who's your other tight end, I guess. If you're just like looking for someone on your bench for upside, I lean Loveland. If you're looking at a guy that you're potentially going to be starting over the next few weeks, like then it's probably Strange. So that's probably how I would approach that.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up tight end, and we'll move into everybody's favorite defenses. Because I love to stream this. This is one of the more enjoyable things. Past week didn't work out super well for us, but going back, taking up Cleveland Browns versus the Raiders, 41.6% rostered. Man, that's a good matchup. Especially after this week where I'm expecting them to really be able to let loose offensively. This is going to be another game that, I mean, shoot, we just saw the Browns hold the Ravens in check. And, I mean, Dylan Gabriel and Shadir Sanders almost beat Lamar Jackson, which is just incredible to me. But it just makes for interesting opportunity. So,
yeah.
And then the other one is kind of cheating. But Falcons versus Saints, 30.9% rostered. Saints are coming off a bye, so I'm very curious to see how that is. And the Falcons also been very beat up, which I forgot when Bryce Young played them initially. So this past week, and I guess that's something else we should have touched on is Bryce Young looked pretty good this past week. So if you're potentially looking for a streaming option, that could be another one.
Yeah, for sure. We missed that one. Could miss time, but yeah. No. Yeah, I like both those options. I'm gonna throw the Rams out there. I just think they're a good defense. Like, so I'm just kind of rolling with that. They're under the 50% threshold. Maybe people are afraid of Seattle a little bit, but like it's kind of weird. They've been floating. Weirdly enough, like they've been floating. It just shows you what like previous heading into the season perception does for some of these rankings and stuff like that. Like Rams, I don't think I've seen over like 65%. And they're the sixth best defense in the NFL or in fantasy. in total points, third best in points per game because they've already had their bye. Like they're just consistent. They've had one bad game, a 1 point game. Everything else, 6 or more points in kind of standard scoring. They have a few double digit. They don't have a huge game either. There's nothing like, a 30-point game inflating that. Like their best game is 17, which is really good. They have a couple of 11s, but they're just consistently 6 to 8 points. So I'm gonna probably pick them up. They're playing the Buccaneers, but I don't really mind that much. I just think again, really really good defense. So like your two calls there, for sure. Seahawks are playing our Titans, so we can't use that for Steve there. But also the Chiefs. The Chiefs got dropped a decent amount. It looked like. I don't know if that was the bye week. They haven't recovered from that, but they're at 42%. What's interesting here is what I think the Chiefs do best is shut down the run. They play the Colts. It's at Arrowhead, so there could be some bad weather. We'll see. Way too early to predict, but like I think the Chiefs, what they do best is kind of shut down the run a little bit, and that's obviously what kind of makes the Colts go. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a game where like Daniel Jones has 4 turnovers and the Chiefs kind of like just dominate the game. It's not out of the realm of possibility here. And so I don't mind picking them up either. Again, I just think they're a good defense. Not an ideal matchup, but I see a world where that happens. Like I can just picture it in my head now of like while watching the game that's happening.
Yeah, I completely agree. I had the Chiefs as a top 12 play this past week, and it seemed to work out just fine. And it's been crazy. The games are very difficult to predict, but I wouldn't be surprised, yes, if Daniel Jones does struggle this week. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop Jonathan Taylor, but they're going to try.
Yeah.
And so guessing that you're going to see a lot more throws, and unfortunately the issue for Daniel Jones is that if he can't establish the run, he does struggle. That's something that Neil has continued to bring up. But if he's throwing it, hopefully all of the Colts wide receivers become fantasy viable options for you. But
yeah, Chiefs. Just real quick, Chiefs ninth least or best against the run in terms of yards. They give up on average exactly somehow 100 yards per game. Last 3 games, 86.7. So they've been much better the last few games. And they've had those last 3 games like Denver, whatever, but they played Buffalo. Commanders were in there, man, whatever. But they played Genty, they played the Lions, they played the Ravens, they played the Jags, they played the Eagles, like they played the Chargers in Week 1. They played some legit like run teams, and they're still in the top 10. So I do think there's a chance like it's going to be tough to shut down JT, but. If they can do that, which I think they can, I think it could be just a little bit of a tough game there for Daniel Jones.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I hope everybody goes and enjoys his Raiders, Cowboys bonanza. This game's going to be insane. I'm hoping for a high-scoring one because we haven't seen that really this week. I'm hoping I want to see over 80. Over 80 would be an ideal week for me. I want to see these teams score. It's been overdue. I want to see it happen, and I think it very easily could. So, with that in mind, I'll be back Wednesday with Neil to do Roster of the People, and we will see you all next week. Remember, as always, to keep up the nonsense.